Hey, hello all. Good morning, India. Good afternoon, England. Good evening in California, and bedtime stories for East Coast. This is Ramana Anam the president of NetBreaks, and Jennifer is off today, and I have a special guest. I'm going to introduce you shortly, Ursula Lentini. But today, this topic is fractal medicine. I'm going to explain. I'm going to place. First, I'm going to introduce Ursula. Ursula is uh, she's a reverend in a Center for Spiritual Living in Atlanta, and then I know her for a long time, and she's a doctorate in consciousness studies, and teaches pranic healing and other stuff, and spiritual living. And I wanted to ask her some questions. What is going on what is going on right now in this world? I think we need somebody like that, asking some questions. I think we need some guidance. So Ursula is the perfect person for that. Ursula, welcome.
Thank you.
Let me just. Yeah, I'm trying to do some. Yeah, Ursula, thank you for coming in, and you know what. I'm trying to. Yeah. But it sometimes works, sometimes doesn't work. I don't know why. But anyway, I wanted to be with you same time.
Yeah, I
But
was.
I wanted to ask you questions, a couple of questions, Ursula. And if you want to give me some of your background, just go ahead and give me your background, and then I'll ask a couple of questions after that.
Sure. You did a fine job. Thank you. I also, my primary work is to do internal family systems, which is subconscious work. The skeletons in the closet. Sometimes we inherit things from our family that are bothering us, addiction, abuse, things like that. And we wonder why we're behaving a certain way. And then we reach for distractions to avoid why we're behaving that way instead of going in and actually dealing with the things that are upsetting us. And that's all buried in the subconscious. So that's primarily what I do is subconscious healing work.
Very good. So what is going on? So what is going on Texas? A teenager kid, actually, practically for all practical purposes, is a kid. Got a AR-15 and killed 21 people, 19 small children, fourth graders, and then two teachers. So much shootings going on right now? What is this? Is the purely pandemic effect, or all the combination, or the violence is brewing for this kind of a mental agony, mental stress is going on, brewing for a long time? What do you think of as a family therapist and a family counselor? What do you think of that, actually?
I'm really glad you asked me this question because I started writing an article about it, but I was so heart sick that I didn't finish it. But now that we're here live, I can discuss it. So the media wants you to think that it's a gun issue. The guns are not killing the children. The children are killing the children. Why are children killing children? In all of history, Ramana, we have never had this kind of problem all over the globe. This is the first time that this sickness is showing up. And to me, it is a sickness because when a parent in a household, when the mother and father have unexpressed emotions, they pretend like everything's okay, but it's not okay. Somebody's cheating and they lie and they just think, oh, no one's going to catch it. Or somebody's really angry, but they have to make a fine face because they're not allowed to be angry because it could get dangerous. All of that kind of thing. When the parents are running that energy, but they pretend they're not feeling it and they don't acknowledge it, the child, because it is a new person and because it's new in the world, because it doesn't have a lot of programming yet. Children are like sponges. A baby doesn't understand language. They understand sensation. They understand emotion. They understand there's a quality in the room that's scared or peaceful or something. So babies read energy first, they read emotions second, they read information third. You see what I'm saying? So we're naturally tuned in to pick up what's going on in an environment like an animal would. When parents are having some kinds of feelings, the children will absorb them and then act them out and say, oh, what's wrong with that kid? Look at, they're violent, or they're screaming, or they're always crying. What is wrong with this child? I look to the parents and say, what's going on with you? And dig in a little deeper between the surface. And then I find out exactly why the child is crying, having nothing to do with the child. So what that shooting tells me on a national sphere, when the children are acting out in such a violent way, school after school after school, they don't give us the whole list. I saw the list. You have to scroll down to see the list of school shootings. I think it's the sickness of the American culture that goes back to capitalism. When you separate the family and you say, oh, you have to travel. As a father, you have to travel for a living. When you separate a husband and a wife, what's going to happen? Okay, resentment, loneliness, blame. This person's out traveling. Sometimes you see it's the woman traveling. Traveling. They're away from their family. They go out, they sit at the bar. Someone comes up, one thing leads to another. There's a colleague, one thing leads to another. This one's home, her tennis coach, whatever, right? It's a setup for failure. The children don't know the parent comes home, they don't know what's going on because they're stressed out with work. So the breakup of the American family by capitalism was the beginning of this. You have two generations of this. The X generation, they don't know how to go out and work and get a job and do an interview. They don't know that because no one's home teaching them, because we're being raised in empty households. So when children lose their mind like that and shoot, it's because they are being brought up by video games, which should be completely illegal for children to sit there. That when you are watching something like a video game or a movie, your brain doesn't understand actuality versus pretend. You know, oh, this is pretend, but your brain calculates it as real, and then you learn how to be a real shooter. So if you get mad, you have a skill set, and you think that that skill set is a part of reality. The children's brains are not developed till age 21, sometimes 23. So no one's home watching these children, tracking, what are you doing? In our generation, we were sick of our parents. Like, get out of my face. Now look what's happening. Nobody's home, and the children are raising themselves. Video games are raising them. The mother and the father, we don't feel the love anymore. Everybody's stressed out. And the choices are getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah, there is something interesting going on. Similar thing, but exactly not same for children. Little grown up with the grown ups. In India, for example, a lot of Indian, Chinese, and a lot of foreign countries, the young youth, the generation, next generation people coming to jobs to the United States and Western Europe, and they're going to other countries. So England and Australia and other countries. So they're leaving the older generation home, and also the grandchildren doesn't have the impact of the grandfathers and grandmothers. That's another thing. And
Yes.
the second thing is that joint family is gone in India also, because they're separated. They're coming to other countries, and this technology, sometimes is a good, but there is some debt to pay. That is a price to pay. That
Very
is a
big debt
price.
to pay.
In fact, we're not talking about the price. Everybody's saying that better economic opportunities, but there is a price that even foreigners are paying with their parents and the children, grandchildren, even children. They leave at 21. How much they know? Really, they cope up with the world. They need constant wisdom from parents. It is a struggle for even foreigners. But
Yes.
I'm glad you mentioned the technology. Technology is not only video games. We have too much of a technology imposing on us. We need to really understand how far is we can go, how far we need to stop for the betterment of the humanity. In fact, yeah.
Well, that is a big problem, because if you look at history, which is a great way, if you want to see what's going on, you zoom back and you look at the history line. We have been family. Family has been first. Family has been priority since the beginning of mankind. Only now in this last 100 years has family divorce is, common, and two households, and same gender, all of that. So even when it's a same gender household, at least it's a household, right? Everything's changing. But when there's only one parent and a child, the child knows it's a burden. The child knows, if I wasn't here, my mom would have a better life. If I wasn't here, my dad wouldn't be so angry. They see that, they feel that, they know that. So their level of worth is very low when they see that. They're angry at each other because of me. I'm the one causing trouble. And that's so low value. So we're already, as human beings, having a sense of worthlessness. I don't know why it's programmed that way, but we have. When we have a sense of family and community, we have at least acceptance. But when that's broken down, we do not have that. So this screen, when we have all these screens, this is, again, the first time in all of history. And often there's a pendulum. We go to an extreme, we're obsessed with something, it fails us, or it corrupts us, and then we swing the other way. We're not swinging the other way. We're causing a lot of failure. We have no idea long-term cell phone use. They say in the booklets, when they used to print booklets, don't put it an inch by your head, because we know already it causes brain cancer.
Yeah,
we
don't know.
We're sleeping with it. It's.
But we need evidence, anything. But let me ask you, go back to the little bit of a different, you mentioned a couple of minutes ago about hypocrisy and the double standards. So the people are doing that. That's one thing I notice. A lot of Indian parents come to me. The older, they used to be, at least, when I was traveling, and they say, my son is not listening to me, my daughter is not listening to me. They used to come. Because one of the things that I noticed, what that is the kids are wonderful. There's nothing wrong with them. It's because the hypocrisy they manages. For example, I'll give you one example of that. One example is that they tell you they are discriminated always. Tell them, children. But they eventually turn around and discriminate other people right in front of them. So that kid is always confused about that hypocrisy in general. That is creates a lot of problems for them, and they don't understand that value. When you're giving the values, not just money. When you keep on giving money, then at the end, what happens is, now when they get older, the parents get older, they have nothing to contribute. And basically they are watchers. Basically, the kids are waiting for somebody to pick up that money. That's all they're doing, and they didn't spend enough time and on the learning and curiosity. Those things they have not thought. Become a doctor, become a lawyer, or do this, do that, rather than teaching that fundamental wisdom skills of wisdom. That's so profoundly important, rather
Yes.
than anything else. And we lost that all over the world. In fact, Western culture is dominating so much in other countries. This is a big problem around the world. In fact,
That's my whole point. Before technology, last 100 years, take away 100 years, look how valuable the family was. You don't have all the distractions. So the parent says, stop fighting with your brother. Come here, let's sit down. Let's talk about this. What's going on? Here, how to tie your shoe. We don't have shoelaces anymore. They have Velcro because no one has the patience to teach their child how to tie a knot. If today all electronics was gone and we had to survive in the woods, all those young generations, they don't know how to build a fire. They don't know how to keep warm. They don't know how to, find due north. They don't know the stars. Nothing. Why? Because we have failed them to teach them. Why? Because of capitalism. So we're being completely brainwashed what's valuable versus what's real and true.
thank you, Ursula. You're always good, and I'm always enjoy your company. You've been a friend to me for a long time. What is your email? What is your web address? What is your web? Can you give it?
All my social media is my first and last name, UrsulaLentini.com, at Gmail, Instagram, YouTube. I have many videos there for people to watch. And you wanted to ask about the healthcare system too. Do we have time for that?
Yeah. Just I will quick ask you, why generally American public have this lost confidence in healthcare system. 6 out of 10 people in general, they don't trust American medicine. American medicine produces one of the wonders. They produce the tremendous amount of drugs, and they really cured a lot of fatal diseases. Why there is no confidence? American public, they're not showing the confidence in American medicine.
That's a great question, and I'm glad again to talk about this because the medical industry in America is the alternative medicine. How did we get better before all of these drugs? We used herbs, we used tinctures, we used old remedies, we did energy, we slept, everybody did whatever they could do, right? We made it this far. Somehow or other, we've made it this far. So then we started playing, and then the pharmaceutical company said, oh, you guys are doing crazy things. We're going to standardize the hospital education system. So the pharmacy is the one standardizing and financing the education for the doctors to come in. Big pharma happens to be greedy. I'm very glad that the medicines that they created are saving lives, extending lives, but again, it's causing a little bit of a problem, right? Because our life expectancy is much higher than it naturally would have been because we are interfering with the life.
I don't know everything. I agree with you about the pharma, but they have their own problems. But they did contribute to the world of medicine. They came up with a tremendous amount of drugs, and they life-saving drugs. And your point is well taken. Thank you, Ursula. You are always wonderful to me and wonderful to the public. We always like to listen to you. And if you stay in there, then you can watch.
Yeah, I have one more point. Why isn't America allowing doctors from India and Germany and so on to come and practice here? Because they would bring the Indian traditions. Like in India, they're going to use Ayurvedic. They're going to use different herbs. In Germany, they use homeopathic. Wouldn't it be wonderful? Wouldn't it be absolutely wonderful if we can integrate Western and Eastern medicine?
I think it's happening a little bit slow, but it's happening. You're right about that, and it's happening. But and thank you. And I'm going to play a video on fractal medicine. What is introduction to fractal medicine? All of you, just you can.
For mental relaxation, early human civilizations in the East practiced Buddha's teachings, while in the West they performed rituals. One place they mastered the consciousness through meditation, and other place they altered consciousness through psychedelics. But there is another alternative technique called consciousness hacking through technological innovation. A mathematical equation through virtual reality can offer and alter and master consciousness at the same time. A genius painter from Japan, a legendary scientist from Princeton University, and an engineer from IBM came from a different walks of life, from different times, made important contributions for consciousness hacking. Benoit Mandelbrot was hired by IBM to solve a nagging problem in the early days of telecommunications. The problem is a noise popping up while sending the data across telephone lines. Noise is an undesirable or
I heard some your noise, the voice is low. That's what she said. That I'm going to replay back in a little bit. I want to know why, but I'm going to playing back a little bit.
unwanted signal that gets randomly added to the actual information carrying signal. Mandelbrot noticed a fixed pattern of noise repeating across the telephone lines, irrespective of the distance the data traveled. Mandelbrot recollected seeing a similar idea before, a picture of a giant wave on a children's spiral notebook. The picture is the original painting from 18th century well-known Japanese artist Katsushika Hokusai. It is called the Great Wave of Kanagawa. Look at any part of the Great Wave, it looks very similar to the whole wave, The whole contains the parts. It looks counterintuitive, but the part also contains the whole. Their artistic expression gave rise to a new concept in mathematics called fractals. Mandelbrot discovered nature's fundamental unit repeated through a geometrical pattern. The same geometrical pattern is present everywhere in the clouds, seashores, trees, and even in the human bodies. The nervous system looks very similar to that of a lightning. The EKG of the heart signal is strikingly similar to that of a noise signal in telephone wires. If you further zoom in into the signal, the strange-looking pattern emerges. The pattern is discovered by Mandelbrot, bears his name Mandelbrot sat. The nature around you, the snowflakes, trees, mountains are built from these series of Mandelbrot sets. We can also observe Mandelbrot sets at the beginning of life in a woman's womb. The equation that governs the nature is spectacularly simple and displays the nature in exquisite details. Before the public understood the power of the Mandelbrot sets, Hollywood jumped in. The Star Trek movies with the fractals put the movie watchers in a trance. There is a similar, a different kind of a trance was described by an American botanist, a former New Age hippie, Terence McKenna. He frequently experimented with a psychedelic brew called ayahuasca. He chronicled his experiences through books and videos. Amazonian Indians consumed this brew on ceremonial occasions. Terence McKenna claims this brew produced visual and auditory hallucinations while his eyes were closed. He claimed his experiences profoundly changed his outlook on life.
Many of them, and they come pounding toward you, and they will stop in front of you and vibrate, but then they do a very disconcerting thing, which is they jump into your body. They jump into your body, and then they jump back out again. And the whole thing is going on in this very high-speed mode, where you're being presented with thousands of details per second, and you can't get a hold on, you say, my God, what's happening?
In recent studies by Johns Hopkins and New York University Langone Special Unit Psychedelic Medicine Center conducted studies with the psychedelic drug psilocybin in a controlled environment. The chemical compound in psilocybin is dimethyltryptamine, in short called DMT. The studies show a single dose of psilocybin dramatically reduces the depression with the subjects of research. Interestingly, the visual hallucinations the subjects describing look very similar to Mandelbrot fractals. In the years before, Albert Einstein published a theory of general relativity, a profoundly mind-bending way of looking at nature. Mass tells space-time how to curve, and space-time tells mass how to move. Gravity is not a force, it is an illusion created by the bodies moving in space-time curvature. Einstein deployed a very different branch of mathematics called non-Euclidean geometry. We don't experience non-Euclidean geometry in our everyday lives. American Airlines pilot explained this phenomena through a tricky example. The shortest route from Dallas to Hong Kong is first Dallas to Seattle, then Seattle to Alaska, then Alaska to Siberia, then Siberia to Mongolia, then Mongolia to Hong Kong. That is the shortest route. But you see on a flat map, it creates an illusion the Hong Kong is directly right across Dallas. But if you combine Einstein's non-Euclidean geometrical concepts with the Mandelbrot fractals, watching in a virtual reality devices, it is truly a technical wonder. It produces mind-feasting, kaleidoscoping patterns where all your visual channels are fully occupied. It puts you in a trance and gives you same bliss without inducing substances. Fractals are nature's artistic expressions. Now you are in tune with the nature. Welcome to 25 milligram DMT experience without a DMT. Consciousness hacking through technology is a mass mental relaxation technique for modern humans. Thank you for watching.
Guys, sorry about that. I forgot to press the mute button. It was a technical, we are only one person managing this whole thing. He's always, but I was telling you, this is sorry about that. And I looked a fool probably on this one with the talking, but let me. She is from. It is a story appeared on Medium. Her name is Erin. I don't want to give a last name, but her doctor is Sunil Kumar Agarwal. He's an Indian doctor in Seattle. He's a physical medicine rehabilitation physician. She was diagnosed as a stage 4 breast cancer. She has two small children, and she was dying, and then these dying thoughts are all taking her over. So he wants to prescribe psilocybin, the psychedelic drug, because from John Hopkins, and you see the New York Langone Hospital, they have this treatment is working for them. So he wants to prescribe, but the federal agency said that no, is a Schedule 1 drug, because they don't see the use of the medical use in a large scale, that particular Schedule 1 drugs. So they filed a federal lawsuit, in the federal courts. It is a psilocybin. Actually, he wants to prescribe the psilocybin. Is the mushrooms they call LSD and all those things. But it is now there's a lot of new research coming on psilocybin. It is in a controlled environment, not for the recreational process of it. It is a single dose of, as you heard in the video, single dose of psilocybin created in the studies. A tremendous amount of outcomes, best results produced it. So really there is a lot of research going on. World Science Festival made a 2-hour program on it. You must watch it. But there is a Trump administration passed a law called a Right to Try Act, It is like you can try at the end of the end stage. You can use all available things, even they are not approved. You can use it. But federal agencies are rightly so. They're worried about it. It is going to leak into the general public. That happened actually. That's why I understand, understandably so. So there is both sides of the coin. Is a lot of tough issues there. Um, so what is so not only Erin is the problem, the whole world is a problem right now. Mental health crisis, the number one crisis. The number two is economic crisis. Probably mental health is the biggest crisis now around the world. People are depressed. You see the first symptom of the mental health, mental illnesses, mental disturbances are the street violence and domestic violence and street violence. These are the outcome, the manifestation to those violence kind of things, and that affects the children and everybody and the entire families. So we need a mass mental. We are in the mental health catastrophe. We have supply chain is already breaking at the breaking point, and then the supply chain, 2 months of really strangulation of the supply chain we will go. I cannot imagine what will happen. That is, I hope that is not the case. But the racial violence is coming everywhere. Financial burdens, people are struggling, and then relationships and the suicide among children are going up, and then youth and among young adults. So it is a big problem. So what are the solutions? We can't worldwide mental mess. It is this is not just a United States problem. It is much more prevalent here because of all the center of technology, center of everything. So it is all the problems are concentrated here. But you see that in the 1 billion people have mental issues out of 8 billion people, one way or other way, some kind of a mental disorder they have. We don't have any. What are the solutions we have? None. The governments cannot address this mass problem. They can address cancer, they can address this, they can address small problems, but this is a massive problem. Addressing it's a lot more. One thing is, first thing is stigma. A lot of people don't tell their children they have mental health problem or stress problem. They won't. Even some guys won't tell. I'm stressed out. They won't tell you. So access is another problem. A lot of insurance companies deny this kind of access to them. That's another issue in this country. The cost is going up, so we have limited number of psychiatrists and psychologists and counselors, so they cannot address that large scale solutions. So that's why I thought about fractal medicine. Why is fractal medicine? The people that they take LSD or that psychedelics, they do audio visual stimulations. That's what they do. It's not a chemical compound is causing that relaxation for them. I strongly believe that's a visual and auditory stimulations that they see, because they don't see those things in regular life. That is I was talking about Einstein's negative hyperbolic structures, which is a negative curvatures that you don't see and experience every day. So that's why when you see those kind of things in a VR, virtual reality, really your mind can relax. You can see in EEG from beta to alpha waves, it drops actually. The stress you can see literally. But there is another question, is interesting question in the nature. What is beautiful? What is beauty? I want to tell you about that. Beauty is usually what the researchers have found out is a symmetry in nature, bilateral symmetry. If I draw a line between my eyebrows, and then if the left side is equal to the right side, that is considered to be beautiful. They're similar. It is considered to be more beautiful. That is a crystal is the same one, the perfect structure and much more dimensions, in the butterfly. You see the bilateral symmetry on the left side, right side is perfectly matched. So the bilateral symmetry, which is the left side and right side matching, is very comforting to us. I tell you why. There is some reason to it. I'm going to explain to you that very interesting reason. There's a physics reason to it. But we appreciate the beauty. You know, the that's bilateral symmetry is equal to both sides are exactly similar. There is another reason. In the when you see a line, if you see half of it, you know there's a line, and you know the danger to it. If you see a human, you know it's not a danger to the other one. So that is a kind of a thing, you know. So bilateral symmetry is we all came up with the bilateral symmetry. Nature embraced the bilateral symmetry. I don't know why, but we'll see why. So if we see obsessive compulsive disorder, it is actually none of the new research is saying that, you know, if we ever gone to, I have a friend, I'm not going to tell her name, she's going to kill me, I know her, she's listening to me sometimes. So when I go to her house, everything is perfect. Okay, if I move the milk carton from one aisle to the other one, she is going to peek out. So it is, you know, this is what this a lot of psychologists thought this is a behavioral disorder, you know. But now the new research is saying that this is a probably evolutionary genetic disorder, a extreme need for the symmetry. They want to do see perfectness. That's a symmetry is causing that needing to see the symmetry in our genetic disorder. That is a genetic compulsion is our genetically disposed to see symmetry. So if we are violating the symmetry, they have problems. Some people really create that sensitivity to the symmetric disorder. So now, they're saying that OCD could be is a genetic disorder for the symmetry, extreme need for the dimensional symmetry. That's what they're saying. That's very interesting research going on. But even symmetry places sex. You know, a lot of, you know, they say women, not men, but women get orgasms more with the symmetry body of symmetrical faces or symmetry bodies they have that they enjoy. It is a research done. Actually, this is research done. Even the honeybees prefer radial symmetry. The flowers perfectly radial. It prefers the beauty. Not the honey. It prefers the beautiful flower. In fact, honeybees. So there is a symmetry. So actually, they found out people who are asymmetric in the faces, left side is different than right side. They usually they tend to be aggressive. They show a lot of violence, and they go through a lot of depression. It's very unfortunate, but that is the case. They said that is a research she's finding that people with asymmetric system in the both sides of the face, they go through some kind of psychological problems. But we can fix it. We can change it. We're humans. We can be more compassionate for them. So what is symmetry? Why symmetry plays such an important role in our nature? This is a Yemi Nether. She is a mathematician. She's a brilliant mathematician from 1882, 1935, German mathematician. She's from Germany. You know, our last guest, Ursula, is from, her parents are from Germany. I met her mother. She's from Germany. She told me the stories about that what do you call in this in the yeah, that's I'm going to yeah, I don't know why it is doing that. Okay, let me do that.
The war. She told stories of the war.
Told me the stories about the war, but I'm trying to bring both of us there, and I don't know why it is. Let me see this one if it works out. Yeah, that's so we can see. I mean, you can see Ursula's mother, and I met her a couple of times. She's a wonderful woman from Detroit, and then she told me about the stories about the war, Second World War, and she was a child at the time. She was 8 years old, right? That's what you said.
Yeah. You know, from 5 to 8. You know, because the war was lasting so long.
Yeah. So she was during that time. Actually, she was because of Jewish. She's from before Second World War, but she was because the World War One there was a resentment towards the Jewish people. She was a Jewish origin, so she moved out from Germany. She was a brilliant mathematician, and even there is a David Hilbert is a mathematician, German mathematician. He hired her, as a professor, and some of the administrators came to him and said that, what do you think? You're hiring a woman. All the soldiers coming from the war, they need to bow down to the woman and they need to learn from her. And then David Hilbert said that this is a university. This is not a bathhouse. So he gave a fitting reply to those people at that time, 1930s. David Hilbert is a famous mathematician. You can get away with it. But eventually, she was under a lot of stress with these wars and everything. She moved to England and eventually moved to United States. Last 2 years of her life, she lived in the United States and Pennsylvania. She died in Pennsylvania with a cancer, very short at the young age. But what she did was she was a mathematician, but brief period of time, she came to the physics side of it. In that physics, what she found out is that if you see in the physics, we are taught the first law of conservation of energy is neither created nor destroyed. That is the first law of thermodynamics is the law of conservation of energy. So, but that is not the fundamental in nature. The fundamental in nature is the symmetry is the nature. That is what she found out. She found out for example, if you have a snowflake, if you turn around, that's you see 360 degrees anywhere you turn around, it looks exactly the same, right? It doesn't change. You don't know the difference. That is called a rotational symmetry. Then if you go in the middle, the translation symmetry that you have, the translation symmetry is momentum and the angular momentum, and then the time is that yesterday the laws are not going to change. Tomorrow when you throw a ball to the sky, to the earth, and it's going to fall, is today or tomorrow or day after tomorrow. The laws are universal. The conservation, the laws of symmetry are fundamental. They are the ones give rise to the laws of conservation of energy, conservation of momentum, angular momentum. All those things come from the laws of symmetry, not laws of energy. They're not. That's the cheat sheets for physics people. They're cheat sheets. These laws of nature are the cheat sheets for the physics people. But in fact, the fundamental Einstein said that she was one of the genius, and he said that is a more fundamental, and then is a revelation to the universe. The nature itself is a symmetry embedded in the nature. So that she invented this laws of symmetry. So symmetry you find in the nature itself. You see in the flowers, you see the perfect symmetry, you see in the diamonds. You can actually repair the diamonds into the perfect symmetry, and more symmetry they are, the more expensive diamond is. Symmetry you see everywhere in the nature. It is a very highly present in the skies, in the lungs, and you can see all over the place symmetry. But the nature has a smooth way of showing us. If you see a sunset or a mountain, you see that beautiful. You see is a smooth surfaces. That is our aesthetic feeling. But different different thing. If you do look at the same thing in high definition TV, it looks very different. Left side is the standard TV. On the right side is or for you maybe So high definition TV is you see more clear. So if you further zoom in, what you see is called, Star Trek movies, actually high definition TV, they use the fractals. What are the fractals? So they use this one. That is a set on the left side is a fundamental. If you zoom in further, zoom in to further zoom in, then you see the repeating of the same pattern that you see on the left. Very strange looking set, but that is called a Mandelbrot set. He's an IBM engineer. He came from Poland, and he is from Poland, and he lived in Paris, and he moved here Then he was working for IBM. He found out the noise through noise. I was telling you in the video. He found these fractals. He discovered the fractals through his engineering through IBM while he was working for IBM. So the fractals created a lot of new stuff and a lot of the designs during the 60s and 70s after he discovered. So a lot of things happened in the. So is a fractals is a nature's fundamental geometrical units basically. So you can't see that in this one, but in PowerPoint, and if we show you in the screen. So picture within the picture, the messiah is a French word. A picture within the picture within the picture. That's like if you zoom in the seashore, if you go zoom in, there's a never ending. There's always up to the infinite point. You will be seeing that structure on the left side, that strange looking structure. You will be looking at it. So it is always keeps going. But if you see the fractals, you can see everywhere in the human body. Mentioned your lungs. You can see in the fractals in the brain and everywhere. In fact, I have a second fractal 2 is coming up. I'll talk about the brain more, about the fractals in the brain. The virus structure looks like a very very similar to fractals. In fact, if you see the coronaries in heart towards the heart, that looks like is a fractal structures. These are all. Fractals are embedded in our bodies. So the nature fundamental unit is a fractal. We are all built from the fractals. Or we built from fractals, or we discovered fractals. We don't know. We'll find out about that later on. But but this is what I'm saying is 25 DMT is an experience. They feel that they're relaxed when they see. All these celebrities are claiming that when they see psychedelics, but you don't have to go through that way. You can watch 5 minutes a day virtual reality and VR, and then you see these fractals, the negative curvature that you remember that American pilot was selling. Then you don't see it and you don't experience that. But when you experience in the mathematics wise the fractals, then you will see the benefit of the DMT experience. You don't need to take a DMT. You will get the same experience as 25. That's DMT. That's 20 without a DMT, no drugs. You can see, I think the technology is helping us to feel that. Then it is not permanently going to stay. You need a coach like Ursula or some other coaches you need to go through, but life coaches. But you need to start a good starting point, and then you need to follow up with the life coaches and the counselors and your doctors and everybody else. So thank you for it is on my honor for me to present this one. It is a Mandelbrot. You can buy the t-shirts and everything from Amazon, my Amazon store, dailywearformedicine.com, dailywearformedicine.com. We have a lot of cups, coffee cups, coffee mugs. There's a doctor, Sachin Jain, was talking about in LinkedIn today. He said that, the swags they're expensive swags. They're wasting a lot. I go to a lot of cardiology, radiology shows. They waste so much money on the stupid swags, and they need to give the shots like this. They can understand there's a innovation. So doctors get innovative ideas. See, the problem, another thing is doctors need to understand a little bit about all other fields. At least get exposure, mathematics, physics, chemistry, and psychology. And of course, they may have some psychology background, but the arts, for example, Jackson Pollock, Escher, these are all they're fractals embedded in their art actually. So why art is therapeutic? There is my friend Namrata Sharma in Mumbai. She produces a lot of art therapy. She does. So these are all symmetrical structures, fractals based. And then if you see some other deep curvatures inside, is space-time curvature. I think it is a mind-blowing. And thank you for listening. And
Ramana, I would like to mention in your psychedelic medicine, microdosing is becoming a new study and understanding where the psychedelic psilocybin, I can't pronounce it right now.
Psilocybin, yeah.
Psilocybin.
No, we are not here to promote that one. We are
No,
not
no.
interested.
What I'm saying, one is you go, you LSD, you trip, but they're trying to do some other dosage.
That's what I mentioned, right, in the video.
Right. So it's called microdosing, and they're mixing it with other lion's mane and reishi.
No, we are not encouraging that. We are not. It is not. It's a Schedule 1 drug. You cannot have it. Period. You cannot. This is a still strictly research under research right now. You cannot get a prescription from the doctors. You really
No,
can't. Yeah.
because it's not FDA approved. They cannot regulate it. 'Cause it's
Schedule
natural.
1, the Schedule 1, you cannot.
Yeah.
So forget about that part, and it is very dangerous because once you get into the recreational part, it becomes a problem. It has become a fashion, and it's I understand practical problems for that with that. It can is all the drugs always start with medicine, and then is it in the they dip into recreational side. That's what we are working right now. That's what happened now with all prescription drugs now. Ambien and all the other things like that, Adderall is pervading everybody. That's one of the problems we have. So we need to really control these things. We need to give a mind a break, and then not chemicals. We have other alternative systems that we need to explore. This is the attempt to do that. Thank you for all joining, and I really appreciate it. And I hope Jennifer will be back next week. And thank you for all. And good night.
Thank you.